Peter Klipinski, who's the president come leader of Geelong and Bellarine Tiny Homes, and we've been delighted to have been offering some assistance to this fledgling new group that wants to do something about housing affordability in our region and the diversity of housing. So, Peter, why did I twist your arm to get involved in sustainable housing?
Didn't take much twisting, to be quite honest. No, I could see the need a long way away, but what to do about it is the big problem.
Yeah.
So my involvement for getting involved in tiny houses wasn't the sustainability aspect of it at all. It was basically to address the affordability aspect. So I come from a background of being a member of the Men's Shed in East Geelong. The Geelong East Men's Shed, it's been a wonderful institution for blokes who are struggling health-wise with their mental state and sometimes nothing to do, loneliness, boredom, reach sort of a point where there's sort of so much knowledge in them and haven't got anywhere to share it. So from all of those perspectives, the Men's Shed meets a wonderful lot of needs for the ageing man. So I was talking in one of those sessions with one of the members who is on a Work Start or New Start, is it? New Start program, because he hasn't reached retirement age but can't find work since the manufacturing thing has had a big turn down. And we were chatting about things financial, and he was saying about his income, which was $700 a fortnight on New Start. Now, out of that $700, he has to pay subsidised rent, which is over $400 a fortnight. That's subsidised. Leaves him with $300. He's up for $60 a fortnight for power, and he puts $60 worth of fuel and $10 towards his registration every fortnight as well. He ended up, he had about $130 to live on for a fortnight. And I'm thinking, well, gee, that's not possible. How is it that you can only get that sort of money and try and survive? So we sort of chatted away, and one of the biggest obvious places where you could save some money would be in the rental area. And I think nationally, or the definition of living below the poverty line is spending more than 30% of your net income on rent. Well, 30% of 700, what's that? 210 a fortnight. So he's paying that just about in a week. And many people are in that position because you just cannot rent a place in Geelong at all around that figure. So I'm thinking there has to be a solution to this issue. And I did think the issue was just in ageing men, all about my age. But as I spoke to other people, I'm finding that no, it's not just the people in retirement age or who have been cast on the scrap heap, it's actually women that are struggling as well. Because often they have not accumulated much superannuation, they've had kids to look after and have never been able to own a house for a variety of reasons. So they hit their 60s and they're looking now, well, what can I do for accommodation? And in the same boat as the person I was talking about before. So we sort of got this group together to have a look at what the options were. And to be honest, the options have to be simplicity. You have to come smaller, affordable. Even in that smaller zone, the people I'm talking to and working with have not got the capital to buy outright. They're condemned to the renting regime. So we're looking to find something that people can rent at a reasonable rate. Then as we discussed things and we started talking about the options, tiny houses came up as a possibility. Now, tiny houses can be a variety of styles. The ones that we're going to put on display on the 14th of October, that's a tiny house on wheels, which is a triaxle trailer. It's about 8.5 metres long, 2.4 metres wide. It is not the solution to the housing crisis. It is an option. It has a place. It can do some of the needs of some people. But talking to some of the ladies that were involved in the group, that they saw more than just a roof over their head as their need. One of the greatest needs is companionship, socialising. And that applies to the men as well, because loneliness generates depression, depression generates other illnesses. So it's a very big spiral. It's a spiral downwards. So the lady that was most active in this group in terms of what it was that she wanted, gave a pretty clear picture of needing to have her own space, place for a car, access to her dog, perhaps a little bit of ground to tend the garden, and then to be able to socialise if she so chose.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've sort of come up with now is a bit of a model of a micro village where we perhaps have 4 to 6 people who want to age together, live together on a piece of land, each in their tiny house, which could be any design, but it'll be sustainably designed, with a central cooking, eating, socialising area that they can choose to use or not. So they're self-contained, but they will be able to socialise if that's what they wanted to do. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, where I've come from and what we're sort of getting to.
So you're hoping that people will come along to the location where your trailer has been finished off out in Moolap, just opposite the Gores, the Geelong Animal Welfare Centre.
That's right.
That's the easiest way to find it, because it's at 3 Moolap Station Road, which people don't expect to be on the wetland side of the Port Arlington Road. So opposite Gores is the way to find
it.
Yes. Anyone who's interested in a fall, and you're not just talking about older people, are you? We're talking about a micro village which might even have students, or it might have single mums, or all sorts of other people that find housing affordability a major issue and a roadblock in a way of creating a little micro community. And
this is a very common concept overseas. Holland and some of the other countries are doing this really, really well, where it's whole of age. It's a mixture of age groups, and people can help each other with babysitting if there's a young couple involved. And
be brilliant.
But the whole thing is socialising and choosing people to live together that want to live together, and I think the thing would work. There are models that we can follow. We may have to adjust them and modify them slightly for our situation over here, but I do think that that's got some possibility. So in that sort of vein, we're looking at doing a trial, and hopefully we could get something going that would be able to be copied.
So there's been some productive meetings so far, initial meetings with some councillors.
Yes, we've had a couple of good supporters.
Officers within COG, the City of Greater Geelong, and there needs to be some changes in the planning laws. So and this is where what you were saying before, Mick, it is about people power. The regulators will change if there's enough pressure. So we are trying to help and support this movement to get people along. So they will be looking for people to, show an interest, put their name on a mailing list to add some pressure to the need in Geelong. They say that we are going to add the equivalent of 2 new Ballarats at Bannockburn and out at Lovely Banks. There has to be diversity. There has to be affordability, and we think this is the time has come for this. So we need
because the question here is a really deep one about what is the quality of life.
Yes.
Because what you talk about there is that having a tiny house actually gives you some freedom to play around with things and try new models.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. I think the thing has to change, that we cannot keep building McMansions. We just cannot do it. From the affordability side of it, from the sustainability side of it, from the materials and the energy that we have to extract from the earth to produce that house. And often for 1 or 2 or 3 people, these huge double-storey homes that are just unsustainable in the longer term. So the journey for me has been interesting because it sort of led from one thing to another in the correct sequence, and I'm amazed by this, how it happens every time. Another story that I'd probably like to share is that I have a daughter who lives in Brisbane, and often to get from her place into the city we catch the ferry on the river. It's a wonderful system they've got up there. So sitting on this ferry, you sort of watch the little TV screens that they entertain you with as you're riding along, and on one occasion this fun fact came up on the screen, and it said, since 1950 the population of the earth has doubled from 4 billion to 8 billion people. That's in 70 years. That's in my lifetime. It's doubled. It's taken thousands of years to get to 4 billion. And in the last 70 years, it's doubled, and another 4 billion have been added. Well, extrapolating that, in another 70 years, we're going to have another 8 billion people on the planet. And you talk about global warming, whether it's caused by humans or not, there's got to be a
Of course
a
it is.
consequence of that. Can we water them? Can we feed them? Can we house them? 8 billion people hitting the planet in the next lifetime. So my grandchildren are going to be faced with that. Sadly, I won't be, but that's something we have to act on now. If we wait another 10, 20, 30 years, it's too far into the problem. We need to do something about it now. So this is another aspect of the sustainability aspect that we're looking at. You've got to be able to survive. Reminds me of the koalas. Why?
Tell us.
Well, the koalas on French Island and down at Glen Eyre in the Otways eat themselves to death.
Yeah.
They eat all their gum leaves, there's nothing left, and they starve.
Yes.
This is simple.
It's the analogy of the boiled frog, isn't it? The frog will sit
I
in the
haven't
wall.
tr-
A frog, if you put a frog in a pond of water or a container of water, not a pond, a container of water, it will sit there. If you slowly raise the water temperature, it will sit there until it is cooked. However, if you put it into a pot of hot water, it'll go, this is hot, I'm getting out of here. So it's that gradual change, and it's very much around climate change. Is it climate change or is it just a storm? It's just creeping up on us, and what we fear is that it is potentially going to be too late unless we start changing how we live and connecting more. And I think this movement is a great one. We need community. It's all about resilient communities and how can we generate them. And the way we just do the suburbs at the moment, those volume-built houses which are not insulated or built well enough, with their very large rooms, and everyone has their own living space. How is that a family? How do you create community? No.
And their 5 toilets.
And their 5 toilets and their in-ground cinema. No, we need a lovely outside deck that connects with nature and space for a garden.
For green, clean, sustainable Geelong. The Sustainable Hour.